Hello everybody, myself Nalinikanta Jana, Senior Lecturer in Physics, Bharuneswar Mahavidyalaya, Utkal University. Our today's topic is rotational kinetic energy. Then what is rotational kinetic energy? Let us have a brief discussion about kinetic energy of a body. We know that the kinetic energy of a body is the energy possessed by the body by virtue of its motion. That means, if a body moves linearly with velocity v having mass m, then its kinetic energy will be half mv square. And exactly in the similar fashion, the rotational kinetic energy can be expressed as the amount of energy possessed by the body by virtue of its rotational motion. What is rotational kinetic energy? It is the amount of energy possessed by the body by virtue of its rotational motion. That is, rotational kinetic energy is the amount of energy possessed by the body by virtue of its rotational motion. So, rotational kinetic energy is the amount of energy possessed by the body by virtue of its rotational motion, and it is the rotational analog of kinetic energy. That is, it is the rotational analog of kinetic energy. Now, to have an expression for the rotational kinetic energy of a body, let us consider a body consisting of a large number of particles and is capable of rotation about a given axis. Okay? Let us consider a body consisting of extremely large number of particles and is capable of rotation about a given axis. So, let us consider a body. Let this body be capable of rotation about this axis xy. Let there are so many particles. Here is the particle m1, here is the particle m2, here is the particle m3, here is the particle m4, here is m5, here is m6. Similarly, let here is the particle m7 having particle m8, particle m9 and here is the particle m10. Though the body consists of extremely large number of particles, here we have considered some of its particles m1, m2, m3, m4 up to m10, and let the particles have their perpendicular distances from the axis of rotation as m1 particle is at a distance of r1, m2 is at a distance of r2, m3 is at a distance of r3, m4 is at distance of r4, m5 is at a distance of r5, m6 is at a distance of r6. Here m7 is at a distance of r7, m8 at r8 distance, m9 is at r9 distance and m10 is at r10 distance. Here what we have considered, the body is consisting of extremely large number of particles, out of which we have considered some of the particles. Let x y is equal to axis of rotation m1, m2, m3 up to mn is equal to masses of the respective particles of the body. R1, R2, R3 up to Rn is equal to perpendicular distances of the respective particles from the axis of rotation. Let V1, V2, V3 dot to Vn is equal to velocities, linear velocities of the respective particles. And since the body is capable of rotation about the axis of x, y, then let omega is the angular velocity of this rigid body and omega is equal to angular velocity of the rigid body considered. Now, we have considered the body and the respective particles of the rigid body, and we have defined here m1, m2, m3 up to mn are the masses of the respective particles having perpendicular distances r1, r2, r3 up to rn, and v1, v2, v3 up to vn are the respective velocities of the particles. And since the body is capable of rotation about the axis x, y, then let's omega is the angular velocity of the particle about the axis of rotation. Now, we know there is a relation between the linear velocity and the angular velocity of a body, and we know that the relation is V is equal to R omega. We know that there is a relation between the linear velocity and the angular velocity of the body, and the relation is like this: v is equal to r omega. And exactly this relation can be applied to all the particles of the body, and for each individual particle we can write this expression as V1 is equal to R1 omega, V2 is equal to R2 omega, V3 is equal to R3 omega, and it is Vn is equal to Rn omega. But omega remains constant because it is a rigid body, and we know that the angular velocity of all the particles of a rigid body remains same. From these expressions, we can calculate the kinetic energy of each individual particle. Now the kinetic energy of the particle of mass m1 is T1 is equal to half m1 v1 square, and this can be expressed as half m1. In place of v1 we can write r1 omega. So, this becomes as r1 omega square, which is equal to half m1 r1 square omega square. This is the kinetic energy of a single particle having mass m1 and perpendicular distance r1 from the axis of rotation, whose angular velocity is omega. And similarly, for the second particle we can write similarly T2 is equal to half m2 r2 square omega square, and this can be written as T3 is equal to half m3 r3 square omega square. So, for the nth particle, this can be written as Tn, which is equal to half mn Rn square omega square. But we know that the total kinetic energy of the body is equal to the sum of the kinetic energy of all the particles of the system. So, we can write here, since the total kinetic energy of the particle of the body is equal to the sum of all the kinetic energy of the particles. Hence, we can write total kinetic energy T is equal to the sum of all the kinetic energy of the particles, T1 plus T2 plus T3 plus dot 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 up to Tn. And let us substitute the values of T1, T2, T3 and Tn from these expressions, and we can write this as half m1 r1 square omega square plus half m2 r2 square omega square plus half m3 r3 square omega square up to nth particle, and this can be written as half mn Rn square omega square. Now, since omega square appears in all the terms, hence this can be taken as common, and we can write this as T is equal to half m1 r1 square plus m2 r2 square plus m3 r3 square plus dot 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 to mn rn square into omega square. Okay? But we know that the moment of inertia of a system of particles is, but we know that the moment of inertia of a system of particles is I is equal to m1 r1 square plus m2 r2 square plus m3 r3 square plus dot dot up to mn rn square. So, now in place of these terms we can write I. So, our total kinetic energy. So, rotational kinetic energy is equal to T is equal to half I omega square. Now, the rotational kinetic energy is half I omega square, and it is exactly similar in the way linear kinetic energy is half m v square, where I moment of inertia is the rotational analog of mass in linear motion and omega angular velocity is the rotational analog of linear velocity. Also, we know that there is a relation between kinetic energy and the linear momentum in linear motion, which is nothing but your kinetic energy is equal to p square by 2m, where p is the linear momentum of the body. Here also we can express the rotational kinetic energy in terms of the rotational angular momentum. Okay? So, here let us proceed. T is equal to half I omega square. Let us multiply the perpendicular distance, square of the perpendicular distance, and divide the square of this distance. So, it can be written as, okay, there is a relation between the linear momentum and the angular momentum of a particle, and we know that, but we know that the kinetic energy can be expressed in terms of the momentum of the body as in linear motion we know that linear kinetic energy is T is equal to half m v square, which is equal to half m v square into m divided by m, and this can be written as m square v square by twice m, and this is equal to whole square of mv divided by twice m, and we know that mv is nothing but the linear momentum. So, this can be written as P square by twice m. This is the relation between kinetic energy and linear momentum. And now, we can convert this linear momentum and mass into its rotational form. Let us multiply r square and divide r square in this expression. Now, T is equal to P square by 2m into r square divided by r square, which can be written as P square r square by 2m square r square, which is equal to the square of Pr divided by 2 into square of. So, and we know that the angular momentum is related to linear momentum as angular momentum is equal to L is equal to R into P. Here is R into P. So, this can be written as L square divided by 2 into mr square is nothing but I, or implies as rotational kinetic energy T is equal to half L by I square, sorry, L square by I. This is the relation between the rotational kinetic energy and the angular momentum, where L is equal to angular momentum and I is equal to moment of inertia. So, this is all about the rotational kinetic energy of a body. Let us have a discussion about the motion involving both translation and rotation. That means, if we take the example of a vehicle moving on a horizontal road, then what happens to its wheels? The wheels simultaneously execute both rotational motion and linear motion. That means, the example of a vehicle in motion gives the example of both the rotational motion and the translational motion. So, let us have the kinetic energy of the body involving both rotation and linear motion. Let us have a discussion regarding the motion involving both translation and rotation. If we take the case of a vehicle moving on a horizontal road, then we see from outside that the vehicle is moving with linear motion and covers a certain distance. But if we take the example of the wheel of that vehicle, then what happens? The wheel rotates about its axis and also simultaneously the wheel moves linearly, for which the car moves linearly. That means, when a car is moving linearly on a horizontal road, its wheels execute simultaneously both the linear motion and the rotational motion. So, what will be the total kinetic energy of that wheel? Now, since the total motion of the wheel is both translational and rotational, hence its kinetic energy will also be the sum of its translational kinetic energy and also the rotational kinetic energy. So, when a body moves with both the translational and rotational motion, its total kinetic energy is the sum of its translational kinetic energy and rotational kinetic energy. Okay, let us write the wheel of a vehicle moving on a horizontal road executes both the translational and rotational motion simultaneously. So, the total kinetic energy of the wheel will be the sum of its translational kinetic energy and rotational kinetic energy. That is, total kinetic energy is equal to T translational plus T rotational. But translational kinetic energy is equal to T is equal to half mv square, where m is the mass of the wheel and v is the linear velocity of the wheel, and rotational kinetic energy is equal to T rotational is equal to half I omega square. Just now we deduce to this expression. So, the total kinetic energy of the body executing both the translational and rotational motion is T is equal to T translational plus T rotational, which implies as total kinetic energy is equal to half mv square plus half I omega square. This is the expression for the total kinetic energy of a body executing simultaneously translational and rotational motion. Here we finish the rotational kinetic energy and body possessing both a translation and a rotation. So, the next topic is regarding the motion of non-inertial systems. Now, we will discuss about non-inertial systems or non-inertial frame, because the fundamental laws of physics, that is Newtonian laws of physics, are applicable only to inertial frames, and we do not have any idea from Newton's laws of motion regarding non-inertial frames. So, to discuss in detail the motion of a body in a non-inertial frame, let us first discuss what is frame of reference, then what is inertial frame and non-inertial frame. Okay, let us start with frame of reference. What is a frame of reference? It is a chosen coordinate system whose origin is taken as the reference point. It is the chosen coordinate system whose origin is taken as the reference point. Then what is a reference point? While we discuss regarding the motion of bodies, we take the help of reference point, because unless we know the reference point, we cannot say the exact mechanical state of the body. That means whether the body is at rest or in motion, because while defining rest, we know that rest is a mechanical state by virtue of which the body does not change its position with respect to a reference point in space. And similarly, what is motion? It is the mechanical state of a body by virtue of which the body changes its position with respect to a reference point in space. So, in defining the rest or motion of a body, we have to take into account the concept of reference point. So, what is reference point? Reference point is a point somewhere in space. Reference point is a point somewhere in space with respect to which the mechanical state of a body can be studied. So, if the reference point is considered to be located at the origin of a coordinate system, then that coordinate system will be known as the frame of reference. So, if you are asked what is frame of reference, then you can easily explain that frame of reference is the chosen coordinate system whose origin is taken as the reference point. Now, there are two types of frames of references, such as the number one is the inertial frame of reference and the second one is the non-inertial frame of reference. that is, there are two types of frames of reference, such as the number one is inertial frame and the second one is non-inertial frame. So, let us have a comparative description of these two types of frames of references. Let us have a comparative description of inertial frame and non-inertial frame. First of all, we should know what is inertial frame. From the term inertia, the frame is derived and hence it is known as inertial frame. Then what is inertia? Inertia is the inability of a body to change its mechanical state by itself. That means, inertia is the property by virtue of which the body does not change its position with respect to, the body does not change its position or motion without the help of an external force. That means, if there is no external force, then the body is either at rest or moves uniformly linearly. That means, if the body is at rest or moves uniformly linearly, then the property associated with the body is known as inertia. That means, due to inertia, the body is either at rest or moves uniformly linearly. That means, due to inertia, the acceleration of the body is 0, because if the body is at rest, then its acceleration is 0, and if the body moves uniformly linearly, then also its acceleration is 0. So, in case of inertial frame, we can say that the acceleration of the body is 0. Then what happens to non-inertial frame? As the name signifies, non-inertial means the body or the frame is not inertial. That means, the body or the frame is not at rest or not in uniform linear motion. Then under what condition the body will exist? Then the body is either moves non-linearly or in rotational motion or moves uniformly with non-uniform velocity, moves linearly with non-uniform velocity. So, in case of a non-inertial frame, there is motion of the body with non-uniform. So, there is acceleration. So, we can explain non-inertial frame as the accelerated frame of reference. Hence, let us have a comparative study and description of inertial and non-inertial frames. The number one point, what is inertial frame? It is the frame of reference whose acceleration is 0. So, comparing we can write here non-inertial frame. It is the frame of reference whose acceleration is not zero. The inertial frame is either at rest or moves uniformly linearly. Then what happens to non-inertial frame? The non-inertial frame is either moves linearly non-uniformly or rotates. Then what happens to the fundamental laws of physics in case of inertial and non-inertial frames? In case of inertial frames, all the fundamental laws of physics are applicable, whereas to non-inertial frames, these fundamental laws of physics, which are commonly known as the Newtonian physics, are not applicable. Okay? The number 3 point is all the fundamental laws of physics are applicable to inertial frames. Number 3 here, all the fundamental laws of physics are not applicable to non-inertial frames. And the next point is, it is the real frame of reference which is inertial frame is the real frame of reference, but non-inertial frame is the imaginary or fictitious frame of reference. It is the imaginary or fictitious frame of reference. That means, in case of inertial frame, we call it as real frame because actually the forces act, but in case of non-inertial frames, there are apparent forces or fictitious forces or pseudo forces. That means, actual real forces act on this frame, but here apparent or fictitious or pseudo forces act on this frame. So, this is all about our inertial frame and non-inertial frame. So, I hope you must have a better understanding regarding inertial frame and non-inertial frame. Let us stop here.